Did you guys know that David Bednar and Ian Happ grew up together and played Little League Baseball? That somehow made the game tonight for the sixth time this year, and the Cubs weren't even playing the Pittsburgh Pirates. Meanwhile, another lifeless, apathetic, pathetic showing from the Cubs. We're going to discuss that, plus Willson Contreras' possible trade destinations and his trade value on today's episode. So come on and join us on Locked On Cubs.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Cubs alongside Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. Thank you so much for joining us here on a Thursday. Fresh audio and video for you. And tell somebody about the show. Hit the subscribe button in YouTube. Also give us a follow on Apple, Spotify, and Twitter. And take this journey with us. The Cubs are losers of 6 straight after posting just 1 run on 6 hits and 3 walks in Wednesday's ball game against the Orioles as they drop a contest 7-1. Not much to be excited about in this game. You know, sometimes you could zoom in on certain moments, certainly, and pick out something positive. It's hard to do right now for this ball club. I know for sure I'm going to try, but when the negative outweighs the positive, you got to tell it like it is sometimes, and that's what we're going to try to do today, Sam. Justin Steele actually turned around his outing, I thought, pretty well. You know, through a quality start. Aside from that, my list isn't very too long.
Sometimes you got to tip your cap to a great pitcher like Spencer Watkins. Oh, man.
One of the household names in the game.
What a joke of a performance. I mean, seriously. 7 innings from Jordan Lyles last night, dominated by Spencer Watkins tonight after a day off. It's a joke. Feels like I'm talking kind of loud. Am I talking a little loud?
No, it sounds fine.
Okay. This is, you know, you're right about Steele. Let's take a positive from Steele. But what a lifeless performance. I mean, seriously, do you know that this team is now 0 for their last 15 with men on base? They're the worst high leverage hitting team. When you look at the Cubs lineup and you just look at it in a vacuum, you say, well, Contreras having a good year. Happ's having a good year. Horner's having a good year. Morel's been a nice surprise. Wisdom's been competent, but none of them, outside of probably Horner, hit in high leverage situations. So it doesn't really matter that they all get their hits. Like, for example, Ian Happ today had 1 opportunity to get a big hit. He didn't. But in his other 3 at-bats, he got on base. Bravo, great game. 2 for 3 with a walk. We'll take that any day. But it didn't help us win a baseball game, you know? And it's just, I don't know, man. It's the marquee. Hey, we got Boog back tonight. That was a nice
Boog was
lift.
back. That's good.
That was a nice lift. He was talking. Him and Taylor McGregor were giving Ian Happ's childhood complete
bio.
Yeah, childhood bio in the middle of a 2nd and 3rd 1-out rally in a 4-run ball game. I don't know, Matt. You know, it's you know where the team is. You understand where they're at. But as a diehard fan that consumes every pitch every single night, it's still pretty tough not to be frustrated by what you saw tonight. Lifeless energy, no energy, no clutch hitting. And I get all that. You know, every team's going to look lifeless when they don't hit. Well, then hit.
At least once in a while. But literally, they're 0 for in their last 15 opportunities. That's what you just said, right?
I thought offensively today we were missing Yan Gomes.
Yeah, I mean, that's clearly a significant departure in the lineup.
See, you got to be better with that. You can't carry on the sarcasm because then people may not know I'm being sarcastic. You got to laugh at that. That's a laugh. That's not a carry on. That's a laugh moment.
Okay. So I held the ball for too long there.
as you're wearing a Hawkeye shirt.
That's right. That's
Why don't
right.
you
Go
go to
Hawks.
when's the last time you've been to the Sweet 16? I don't know, Matt. What else is there to say about the game today?
Well,
Daniel Norris.
that's true. And what were your thoughts on him tonight?
You know what I mean? It's
His
like
return from the IL was much heralded.
they no, but in all seriousness, did you hear my line yesterday with Matt Swarmer? What did I say?
Yeah, he was sent back to Des Moines
Yeah,
today.
I said enough already. Okay, and he was
You
sent
were
down,
right.
and he was sent down, and he was sent down this morning. I'm going to say it again, Daniel Norris. Enough already. Enough.
So could there be a roster move prior to the Mets series now? Because Sam may be
It's
forecasting.
enough. Okay, it's just enough. We've seen and you know what I'm starting to get really sick of. And let me tell you guys, when the Cubs are good again, and they will be good again, we'll be the happiest guys on earth. We're not trying to feed you negative content. We're calling the game. You want to spin that game positive to you, then you should run for president. As far as it goes with these guys, I'm so sick of people saying, well, you know, Drew Smiley, let's see if we can get something for him in a trade. And for a while, it was let's keep Norris out there. Let's see if we can get something for him in a trade.
What, a bucket of baseballs?
Do you think the other GMs have eye problems? I mean, come on. What are we going to get here? All right, enough.
No,
Just
that's bad.
Bring up the kid. Let the kid Espinoza pitch.
Right.
I don't want to watch Norris. Okay, I've seen enough. And then offensively, somebody hit a homer on this team. Seriously, this guy throws it. You know, you sent me a
You're
text.
in your home ballpark too.
You sent me a text today. You said, hey, it could be a lot of runs today. This guy pitches to contact, you know, and he gives up a lot of fly balls, which is, you know, an astute comment. Everything's just hitting the ground.
So it was a ground ball-a-thon.
Oh, my God.
And then the moment that frustrates me the most,
Alfonso Rivas strikes out a lot. He never hits the ball out of the park. What kind of profile is that?
Yeah, it might be time to maybe see some other players in his spot as well.
For who?
Well, I'd have to look at the Iowa Cubs roster.
Mark Grace.
Schwindel's coming back this weekend.
Oh, is he? And Madrigal's hurt. What, I got a groin?
Madrigal had a setback. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Yeah, we're all having setbacks at this point, but second and third, one out. This is the bottom of the third, folks. Willson Contreras strikes out. Now, remember, Spencer Watkins, in all seriousness,
doesn't strike people out.
A ton of balls in play,
Tons.
2 outs. Ian Happ has a chance. Second and third. He strikes out.
All-stars.
You know, it's only a 4-0 ball game at that point. You get a hit, cut the lead in half, 4-2. Who knows what could happen?
With nobody on base and 2 outs and a 4-run deficit, most of these guys are like Ted Williams. You throw a couple of guys on base, high leverage situation, it's a little league club. Man, we have stats. We have stats to back this up. I mean,
and I got a lot for Contreras coming up later in the show.
Did you have some stats prepared?
For Contreras, absolutely.
They're the worst. They're the worst team in baseball with runners in scoring position. They had a stretch this year. They went 44 straight at bats without getting a hit with runners in scoring position. I could run into one.
With multiple guys on base, they're putrid.
Putrid.
It's one thing to have a single base runner. How about when it's first and second and third? We're talking about hits for someone like Contreras, which I'll go over later in the program. Single-digit hits.
Yeah, get Hayward back. It'll be fine.
No updates on him.
Look, I don't know.
Actually, there is. David Ross said today to Megan Montemurro of the Tribune, I'm sure others were in the media swarm as well.
She does a nice job.
Really nice. That Hayward is, quote, in a good place, end quote.
Oh boy, what a bunch of
misfits. Good place? This is Major League Baseball.
I'd be in a good place too if I was being paid $163 million to roll over to the right side. Look, we're just trying to make a joke of it. In all seriousness, we're supposed to be reporters, man. Let's report on the game. It was a really bad performance from the North Siders, and if you're out of your melatonin, go watch the condensed game of this. Put you right to bed. Let's go to the next thing.
Well, to close out the Cubs Orioles recap, Sam, in all seriousness, to report some information from the game, you didn't see good things out of Steele in the opening frame.
No, it was good.
In
He
fact,
did a
it
nice
was
job.
quite discouraging. What
He
did you
looked
see
off.
from him to make an adjustment?
Yeah, I think he found his release point a little bit. I mean, the velocity was down a little bit all game. If you follow me on Twitter, after the first like 2 pitches of the game, I was like, something's not right with Steele. I saw it right away. His release point was up. He had a long layoff. He had I think it was his son born. He hadn't pitched since July 4th. And I was actually really intrigued by his performance, because that's a classic. That's the type of thing that he's going to need to do next year on this team as the 3rd or 4th starter. Is he's going to have to try and limit those blow up outings. And on a different day with a better offense, he would have given the Cubs a chance to win this baseball game. That he did. They just didn't hit. But I was intrigued by his performance, and that's what will get my 6 hours of sleep tonight.
Before we get to some Willson Contreras trade chatter, I want to tell you about Blue Nile. Make your engagement moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. And Locked On Cubs listeners get $50 off purchases of $500 or more by using the code Locked On. Plus, every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever piece of wedding bling. Go to BlueNile.com today and use the code Locked On. A few more weeks until the trade deadline, which is a odd time this season.
You have a wedding.
August 2nd.
You have a wedding coming up.
I do. On Saturday, my cousin Anthony's getting married in the great state of Minnesota. I've actually never been to Minnesota, but I wanted to give it some credit prior to getting there. I've heard good things. Perhaps they use Blue Nile. And we'll certainly report back after that wedding. Oh, also, just to let you know, and we could just go over it now since you brought it up, Sam.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to plot out with my cousin Nick, Anthony's brother, one of your best friends.
I know Nick.
Who is going to take the point in singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" at this wedding?
Okay, great. Let's get to the Contreras stuff.
Hey, we're big Cubs fans. Someone's going to sing the song. Okay?
Yeah, that's funny. All right, let's get to the real stuff, huh?
Willson Contreras is all but certain to be dealt prior to the deadline on August 2nd, Sam.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of contenders right now that would love a bat like Contreras. He's one of the best bats on the market. As a catcher, as we're going to discuss, definitely has some deficiencies. I wonder if a team could acquire him and put him at DH or hide him in left field, maybe even get some innings at first base. But he certainly brings offensive value, and there's going to be a lot of suitors for him.
Yeah, he's not going to be a left fielder or a first baseman, but I am interested in his value first off before we talk about his destinations. Look, let's get this out of the way. He's going to be traded, and Cubs fans, if they didn't extend him before the season, you should be rooting for him to be traded as well, because even if let's say by some miracle the Cubs do decide in the offseason they want to bring him back, you're not winning any games this second half. You're not going anywhere. You might as well get any sort of assets you can get for him and then bring him back anyway. So I don't want to hear anybody at this point complain that he's traded. That's been a foregone conclusion since they decided not to extend him. So let's get that out of the way. Secondly, as it goes, I'm really interested in his value, because this was his first game today that he caught since July 4th. Now, part of that's because of his hamstring, but if you look at the Cubs starters ERA with Yan Gomes behind the plate versus Willson Contreras, the only one I know by heart is Steele. Steele has an ERA after today that's close to 5 with Contreras as his catcher, and I believe it's under 2 with Yan Gomes as his catcher. And look, that could be overrated and not that big of a deal, but it is pretty consistent with everybody on the staff, Hendricks and Thompson as well, for sure. So when with a team, let's say it's a team like the Mets or a team like the Yankees that are going to, it's probably not going to be the Yankees. They have an all-star catcher, but a team like the Mets, you have great pitchers on that team. That's a big reason for your success. Are you going to come in there and put a brand new catcher in there, have to get used to the pitchers? I mean, we've talked about it over and over on this show, Matt, how important run prevention is. Run prevention is more important than offense right now. It just is. And I don't think a lot of teams are going to just have, like, for example, let's take the Houston Astros. Okay. Let's just take the Astros. Let's use them as an example.
It's a great example.
They have Martin Maldonado as their catcher. He is one of the worst offensive players in baseball.
They're awful offensively.
But well, Houston, no, he's awful offensively.
He is.
Yeah,
the catching position.
Yeah, right.
But it doesn't matter. They don't care.
Yeah, they don't care because he's great at handling their pitchers, and their pitchers are performing really well. And then they have guys on their team, obviously, that can pick up the load. I was actually talking to the Locked On Houston Astros host about this on Twitter actually yesterday, and we're just both like, I just don't think it's a destination. So whoever does acquire Willson Contreras, are they going to be acquiring him as a catcher, or are they going to be acquiring him as a DH? Because if they acquire him as a DH, that's going to greatly impact the Cubs' return for him. Because, a DH that's hitting 265 with an 835, 840 OPS that can't hit in high leverage situations isn't going to get you back, I think, what you think you're going to get back for him. Now, if he goes to a team, and the Cubs should probably search this out, that is going to use him as a catcher and that is dire need of an upgraded catcher, that's a different situation. So that's kind of my thing. I just think it's a foregone conclusion he's going to get traded. I still think that if the Cubs do trade Ian Happ, they'll probably get more back for Happ just because of that year of control and that positional value. Again, with Contreras, it sounds great. Like he's having the best year for any catcher offensively. But is he a catcher on a contending team? I don't know that.
I really only see the Mets, the Padres, and maybe the Giants, if they get back in it, wanting a stud catcher.
Yeah, and I think I think those are the teams the Cubs should hunt. Like the Padres could probably give up something for him. Good. Everyone's gonna give up something for him, but something really good. But I just don't see a team like the Yankees or a team that's really relying on pitching to be like, hey, Garrett Cole, here's your new catcher. It's like that's kind of weird to do at the deadline.
I mentioned multiple runners on base and how poor the Cubs have done in those situations here in 2022. Contreras is 4 for 33 with multiple runners on base. That equates to a 121 batting average. And then MLB.com has a category in the splits that's simply called late/close.
Yeah, high leverage, right?
So if the game is late and or it's close, he's hitting 148.
Fangraphs has the same thing.
And, that's not representative of his whole season, but in a high leverage spot with what a contender is looking for, it's definitely something that's off-putting. And it's what I see as a fan in the eye test, and now I have a number to back it up.
He's been like this his whole career. He's always struggled in high leverage spots because in high leverage spots, I think the key to being a great high leverage hitter is staying the same, right? And not letting your emotions get to you. And Contreras is such an emotional player. And I think when the stakes are the highest, he lets his emotions kind of take over. I mean, the 3-pitch strikeout against Boxberger on July 4th, it was evident there. Today, Willson Contreras should never strike out against Spencer Watkins. Never. Just never. Unless it's a really bad call by the umpire. A lot of Cubs struggle with that, right? I think Suzuki does a pretty good job of that, where it's like he's the same hitter when runners are on base and runners aren't. It's hard. It's hard to hit with runners on base. That's why I think it's so hilarious that like the analytic people they're like, oh yeah, clutch hitting isn't a thing. It's like, that's just ridiculous. It's so much harder to hit with second and third 2 outs in a 1-run game than it is to hit when you're down 8-1 in the 8th inning. It's two totally different situations and totally different pitches you're going to see. And it takes a special kind of hitter, and the Cubs, are lacking in that department. And I think, Contreras he's had a nice year. We've said it like 8 times because Cubs fans get really sensitive when you attack one of the core pieces of this team. But I promise you, coming soon before our time on this show is over, we're going to be here for a while. There's going to be a new core. There's going to be new players to rally around. You won't be as mad when I say I'm okay with them trading Willson Contreras.
No, 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 no. One of those teams could be the Mets, who are en route to Wrigley Field as we speak, and we preview that series next. Today's episode is also brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all of the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including all things baseball, which includes the Home Run Derby and the All-Star Game next week. Head to betonline.net or download the app to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Are you at all concerned about JD coming back before the break? Are you going to reach out? I mean, we haven't heard from him in a long time. Graduation situation or what?
I would like to see JD before the break. At this rate, I don't expect him in the booth, honestly.
Okay. Well, we'll see. We've had 2 different booths so far. Start the homestand. We'll see what we get tomorrow.
And then I don't know if you saw the pre and post. Sam Sutcliffe flew cross country. He's doing pre-post this week.
Throw him in the booth. Let's do a 4-man job.
Right. This weekend might be the last to see Contreras at Wrigley, where the Cubs play the Mets. The Mets are a first-place ball club in the NL East, Sam. And as we preview this series, they do have some star power, 100%. Lindor's playing really well this year. Pete Alonso.
Is he playing really well?
His power numbers are back.
Yeah. He's having a better year. For the money he's making, he's not playing really well. Go ahead.
You're right. Thank you for correcting me. Pete Alonso, 23 home runs. Michael Jordan.
He's hitting well.
Starling Marte hitting 291.
Cup killer.
Luis Guillerme
hitting 304 or something.
Hitting well, yeah. And then J.D. Davis off the bench as well has been hitting a little better.
Are we seeing Scherzer?
Yes. So the Cubs are going to see Carrasco, Walker, Scherzer, and Peterson this weekend.
David Peterson's a name I've heard linked to the Cubs in some trades as well.
Yeah.
Nice pitcher.
That's going to be the last game before the break. It'll be Peterson and Samson.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough series.
Drew Smiley squaring up against Scherzer of all pitchers.
I really hope we win one this weekend. I really don't want another double-digit losing streak. Like, folks, you guys don't understand.
Especially going into the break.
I don't think people realize how much and how irrational this is, but how much I let the Cubs affect my mood. Matt could attest to it. He could attest to it really well.
Especially during a game.
A game like today, I don't care if they're 30-90. It is so defeating for me. I'm just sitting on the couch watching it just in so much internal pain. I bleed. I love this team. I'm like, you ever watch a show Friends? I'm like Chandler from Friends. I come on the show, I'm all sarcastic and funny, but it's to deflect my inner pain. That's what it is. It's to deflect my inner pain. In here, can you guys see, if you're on YouTube, in my chest, I'm in pain when this team plays like this. It bothers me. They stink. And now we got to listen to the Mets come in and how great they are. Ugh, I'm sick of it.
Hey, we're all in this together. And headed into the weekend, please tell somebody about the new Locked On Cubs. We're so excited to be with you.
Are we done?
Yes, we're wrapping up now.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Feels a little late. I still had a little bit more to say about my fandom. Can I just talk? Can I talk about the at-bats that Higgins will head off the bench today? A little late on the fastball.
Yes, he swung right through that one at the end of the ball game.
I'm sorry, I cut you out of your rhythm. By the way, I have had
that's okay.
I've had 3 fans DM me separately and say, "Hey, love the show. You guys are doing a good job. But please, we're YouTube subscribers. We watch a show on YouTube. Please tell Matt to shave his mustache."
No, you haven't.
Yeah, I got 3 of them.
You're going to have to show me receipts, brother.
Yeah, I will. Go ahead and wrap up the show, brother. Go Cubby.
Be a part
There's
of
the
the
base
journey
hit.
with us. Subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to Locked On Cubs on YouTube. We're getting really close to 800. We're making the push to 1,000 subscribers on there, and follow along with us on Twitter at Locked On Cubs. And remember, you can leave us a voicemail or drop us a text. We're going to read some of those again on Friday's show, 312-834-4634. Thanks for making Locked On Cubs your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On MLB Prospects, especially with the draft this weekend. Some upcoming prospects. Host Lindsey Crosby is a prospect encyclopedia, and he's going deep on the MLB stars of tomorrow. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. For Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.